All right. I am Patrick. That is Eric. That is Steven. We're going to talk about not a game, but a gaming platform. And I feel a little dichotomous about this, so I'm not going to start. But we're going to discuss Tabletopia and in general tabletop similars, but specifically Tabletopia. Steven, tell me what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to say that I used Tabletopia in the past when one of my friends in my gaming group moved away, and so we kind of wanted to keep in touch with him. So some of us would play games with him that way, and then I just kind of set Tabletopia aside. And but then now when you can't really get together with a gaming group, and we can't get together at the Cloak and Blaster like we always do, right? So it's been a great tool to play games. So I love that it exists, and it's great for certain situations. But having said that, it is just not a replacement for sitting around the tabletop with people, right?
Correct.
Well, and it's not so much. I don't even know how to really begin with this. I don't feel like necessarily it's even so much the interface for me, although it is. It's slower, right? It takes a lot more time to play the game. But I really like the tactile feel of stuff.
Yeah.
I like holding components. I like touching things. I like the fact that everything's not automated. And Tabletopia, it's not, right? It is the bare bones. Here's the card art. Here's the pieces, whatever. But for me, I really like the tactile experience of having stuff.
Yeah, and as to what you said about it taking longer, I mean, we've done what 5 or 6 of these reviews now via Tabletopia, and I would say it takes us at least 40% longer to play the game using Tabletopia, and I think some of that is just because sometimes we're learning the game as well, and Tabletopia doesn't make it as easy to learn the game, right? You're like, what are these pieces? Let's flip this over. What goes with what? I feel like physically, if you had those pieces in front of you, it would be easier to determine that. But then it just somehow seems a little fiddly as you're playing. I mean, I get that you're working with a mouse. You've got a small field of view compared to what you would have looking at a table. I do think that the audio solution built into Tabletopia is awful, so awful that we've never actually even used it. We've always used some other service in conjunction to provide
I didn't
to
even know there
talk
was
to
an
each
audio
other.
option.
There is one in there, and I've either had problems with the audio or just not able to get it to work at all. So like audio levels or technical problems or etc. So that's why for us we always just had some other solution. So it's got some problems, and some of those I'm not sure are solvable problems. I mean, maybe if you had a VR headset and tactile gloves or something, right? I mean, you could go way futuristic here.
I am not using anything tactile playing a game with you. You've asked that before. I'm not doing that.
I don't know. I think some of the bare bones aspect of it, and I don't know what the full options are on Tabletopia. I don't know what the capabilities are because I mean, as you said, we've only played 5 or 6 games, so it's hard to know what's available. But I think part of what makes it so fiddly is it's that bare bones implementation, and it's a lot easier to just reach across the table and grab a card than it is to scroll over there, zoom into it and read it, and then zoom out and scroll over here and pick that up and scooch it over there. So I think there are things that you could reduce that 40% increase in time by automating some of the things, and they just aren't. And it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
And a lot of the games that we've played too, that they've attempted to set up for you, but they've done 80% of setup. So there's always something in there that's just
Yeah, I think there is something on the roadmap for Tabletopia to maybe even allow AI and help with some of those other things. But, as you're talking about that, it reminded me of kind of a systemic problem that we've seen, which was the game we played tonight was pretty well polished, right? I mean, but some of the other games that we've played were put up as demos when they were trying to sell their Kickstarter project, and then they never went back and revisited it, right? So we're pulling up pictures of the actual game board because the game board that shipped was better than the one that's in Tabletopia, or the text on the cards are wrong. They updated them before they shipped them because there were obvious problems with them, but they never bothered to go back and fix the Tabletopia version because they got their Kickstarter money and now they don't care about that version that's hanging out there. And it's kind of unfortunate, right? Because even some of those, it's like for you guys, that was your first experience with some of those games, right? And it wasn't that positive. So I'm surprised it would have been better if they had just taken it down, really, rather than not fixing it.
Yeah, especially the like the bigger offenders, because I mean, like I forget which one, but I mean you mentioned the card text. It was only like that game was pretty close to what it was. It was just there was this one card that was trouble, and the actual printed card was
that was Villagers from Sinister Fish, right?
But
there.
Yeah, and then there's been other ones that we've pulled up that I mean that's like a completely different game.
Reavers of Midgard was incomplete, and and it's an expensive game. So if you go online to play Reavers of Midgard to see, I'm just going to play it online. I'm going to kind of read through the rules and see if it's something that I would enjoy. It leaves you with a non-playable experience if you don't have the game with you, right? And I know
even if you have the game with you, it's a non-playable experience because the board was different. I mean, there were different spaces, different iconography.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. You had to reference the actual production board for it to make sense, right?
Yeah, and that could leave somebody with a very negative experience and affect your sell-through of that game. And that's a very big, very popular franchise. They spent a lot of money. That's a beautiful game to have in your home and to play. But it's probably one that should not even be on Tabletopia, even if it was complete, because it's so fiddly and there's so much stuff. I would not recommend that.
Put a sticker on it or a banner or something that just says like
incomplete.
Yeah, or demo version or something that wasn't like or that it was dated.
So I think that's the big takeaway is if you're going to leave something on there, make sure it still works, right?
Yeah.
Like that's I think that would be the biggest pet peeve. And then the other ones would be, do you think you guys would get, if we played a lot on Tabletopia, which by the way, makes the board game companies not make any money because if everyone's just playing on Tabletopia, they're not getting any money.
Now, wait a minute, not to cut off your point, but I have actually bought games that I played on Tabletopia first, and I liked them enough that I went and bought the physical game. So there is that.
Right. There is that, but I'm saying if we played all the time on Tabletopia,
right?
All of us played on Tabletopia all the time and never purchased this mountain wall of games that are behind us. Not Eric. He's moving. Eric's packed up all of his games. He's leaving us. If anybody's in Denver and would like to play games at Eric's new house, I have his address, so just head on over. If you're going to leave it up there, and I realize that people play it, you're not going to make any money. But if you're going to leave it up there, it should be functional.
Yeah, but I thought where you were going with that other point was that I don't think we're going to get any better at playing those games.
I was going to ask that. So you don't think you could get any faster by clicking and poking and whatever?
I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot of shortcuts and options and etc. I mean, the interface is pretty basic, which is good, and it is functional. But I don't think that there's just like hidden gems that we could uncover to make our gameplay go faster.
I think some of it's just because having that big physical board in front of you, and you're able to just kind of lean over and kind of read the text that's on the board. It's a big board, and that big board in that digital format ends up being kind of small on the screen. So you really have to you have to make use of the zoom feature a lot, and you kind of have to like zoom into that space and then zoom out and then zoom into that space and zoom out. And then you're just like, oh shit, what did that space say again? It's so much harder to absorb the board state in it, I think. So I think that slows you down.
Yeah, and we don't have this problem when we've played, but I have had this problem playing with some other players that I played with on Tabletopia. They don't narrate what they're doing. And it's like you have no clue, right? You're like, wait, it's my turn? What did you do? I didn't see you. What was going on, right? And it's not from not paying attention. It's just because it's just a little tiny hand and bits floating around the screen, right?
Yeah, well, and if there's a game like when we played Traintopia, that one would never be any faster because having to rotate the pieces was the worst because you have to right click and you have to like, I want to rotate it negative 180 degrees. And
oh, that's not right. What if I put it here? What if I move it? Let me move it a little bit. Oh, yeah.
And hell, even the game that we played tonight, you know, I need to draw a red tile out of the bag. I can peek open and look in the bag in real life. But in this one, because it's a digital bag, I have to like draw 10 of them and hope that there's a red one. And if it's not, draw 10
and
more.
Throw the others back in the bag, which is not,
You know what? That could have been fixed in setup, though. They could have had a
pile of tiles,
a pile of them off to the side to where you could have.
But that actually affects the game, right? Because then that's a different distribution of tiles in the bag.
Yeah.
So I mean, there could be an interface way to improve it, right?
Maybe
Right-click on bag, choose red tile, right, or something like that. But again, they don't. So I've haven't personally played with Tabletop Simulator, but I've been told that the on the trying to get a game into the system side, that the scripting in Tabletop Simulator is much deeper, and you could do a lot more of those type of things. I have put a game on Tabletopia as just to experiment with it, and it is very simple. It's very fast, but it's also very limited in what you can do, which is what makes it simple and fast to add a game. So it's interesting. You know, as a designer, you want to be able to do this extra stuff, but you also appreciate that you could just quickly throw something up there.
Yeah, I could see that too. Yeah, so essentially our takeaway is right now it's essential.
Yeah.
we don't like it, but we have to have it.
It is. I mean, it's great as a player. I used it to pitch a game of mine to a publisher, right? Because there's no convention coming up for me to do that. So,
right.
And I've been talking to the publisher, and I was ready to show them a version, and so I put it on Tabletopia, and I pitched it that way.
I know
for better. It would be great because I mean with the whole coronavirus thing and all of us having to be socially distant, it's nice to be able to get together and play games with friends. So, you know, it would be even better, and I would be even more excited about it if it were even just a little bit more usable. Or
yeah, I really enjoyed Traintopia on it. I know it took us a long time to play a very simple game, but I really enjoyed Traintopia on it. I thought that it turned out okay, but I do think it could take a good game and make you have a negative experience about it, and that's hard to get through the first time. You're going, it took me 3.5 hours to play that game, and I really didn't enjoy it that much. Are you ever going to play it again? Are you ever going to buy the game? I need to be more concerned about that. All right, well, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time this evening, and thank you out there for watching us complain and tell you how much we need Tabletopia and tabletop simulators all over. Yeah, Steven's staying alive. Thank you for watching. Just got played. We're not at Cloak and Blaster, but all tucked away safely in our homes.
We're at the Cloak and Blaster in our hearts.
Yes, and Eric's in someone else's home. We just don't know which house it is. We snuck into someone's house.
Too bad Brian couldn't join us from his laundry room tonight.
Yeah, no, his bed's in there now.